हरे कृष्ण। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणि विचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा। So today Balaram Shakti Prabhu has some important work. We will not be able to take uh, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport. So we'll have Prabhupada purports only. So we'll just revise few things. This is a different topic, and Prabhupada has some very important things to share with all of us. We'll just take the translations of few things. So here, suddenly, actually, Lord Kapila, he explained in the previous chapter about devotional service. Then he started here how, in a more detailed way, the entanglement of the living entities. We'll just take the translation. The personality of God, it said, as a mass of cloud does not know the powerful influence of wind. A person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of time factor by which he is being carried. So in the previous chapter, he is continuing the time, how it is affected. And then he goes in more detail. Whatever is produced by the materialistic with great pain and labor for so-called happiness, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the time factor, destroys, and for this reason the conditioned soul laments. And the misguided materialistic does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attraction of home, land, and wealth, which are in relation to that body, are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. And we have discussed these things very elaborately. And then he further continues the living entity in whatever species of life. This is very important shloka of this chapter. In whatever species of life he appears, finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in that condition. So, and next shloka is also same thing. Narakastopi deham vai na pumam tektum ichchati narakyam nirvutum satyam deva maya vimohitaha. So the conditioned living entity satisfied in his own particular species of life, while deluded by the covering influence of illusory energy, he feels little inclined to cast off his body even while in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment. And it is applicable to all the people now present, including us also. We are also enjoying this body. But according to the standard of demigods, we are in a hellish condition. Such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep-rooted attraction to body, wife, home, children, animal, wealth, and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect, and that's how we can see people all are attached to the body, wife, house, children, wealth, are applicable to all of us in one way. That actually is the cause of things himself quite perfect, and this should motivate. This is actually the motivation for most of the people. Although he's always burning with anxiety, such a fool always perform all kinds of mischievous activities with a hope that he is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so-called family and society. And provided family, the family we maintain is created by Maya. The family, society, friendship are all flickering, and so they are called asat. And naturally, their hearts are always burning, but in spite of all inconveniences, they still work to maintain such families because they have no information of real family association with Krishna. And he is always burning with anxiety, but he is having hope. Opposite of fear is hope. We are fearful, and opposite is hope. He gives heart and senses to a woman who falsely charms him with Maya. He enjoys solitary embrace and talking with her, and is enchanted by the sweet words of small children. There is actually the payment. Payment is there for every enjoyment in this world. So if somebody is working very hard in doing Garbhadan Samskara and then have the children, he will enjoy the small children's the pleasure with the small children, and then he will not have problem in future because he paid for it, so he will get a good child. Most of the case, I am telling. Otherwise, what happens? Initially, only happiness is when the child is small. When the child grows, then there is no much happiness. As more and more he is hitting the age of teens, then he is actually sometimes that is a very miserable situation for many of them, because the way the children behave and the way they do, it is not actually very pleasing. The attachment is there, but the child do whatever he wants. That's why it is painful. And in this verse, the word strinam asatinam indicate that womanly love is just agitate the mind of man. This love is just to agitate the mind of man. Actually, in the material world, there is no love. This is a $1 million statement for all of us. Very good news, happy news. Why why it is very important news? If you remember this pastime of Malti Mataji, when she first came to San Francisco, and that was the first meeting. Prabhupada, they were advertising, Swamiji is coming, Swamiji is coming. And then the first meeting with Prabhupada, everybody sat, and it was a small place, and she was also sitting in the front, and Prabhupada started, there is no love in this material world. And she said, that was such a relief. Because if there is no love in this material world, no need to try for it. And most of the people in this world, they are just working, trying to get this pleasure. Now, why they watch movies, why they watch serials, why they watch all these social networks and emotional things and all? Because they think there is love, and they are expecting, then they are seeing other people getting love, and they are hoping maybe I will also get it. But unfortunately, there is no love in this world. So it's a good news. No need to try. And whatever these people are trying to do, the womanly love is just agitation to the mind. Of course, for a woman, it's man's love. It is also agitation of mind only. There is no love here. It's a good news. So if you are not getting, don't worry. And if you are getting, and don't take it seriously, because it's not there only. Both men and women are interested in their sense gratification. For sense gratification, a woman creates an illusory love, and man becomes enchanted by such false love and forgets his real duty. When there are children as a result of such combination, the next extraction is the sweet words of the children. Anyway, we have discussed this. I'll not go again. Means when you read again, you get new things, to understand. And the attached householder remains in this family life, which is full of diplomacy, politics, and constantly spreading miseries. Restricted in his acts of sense gratification, he acts just to contract his miseries. So initially there is sense gratification, but slowly, it becomes more responsibility. Family life, initially marriage is like good. There is some enjoyment here, there something, but eventually it turns into responsibility, and that actually causes so much pain. And if he can successfully contract such miseries, he thinks that he is happy. He's no more enjoying, he's just fighting to overcome, just to pay the EMIs, mortgages. He has to struggle, and the children, their exams, then their career, their marriage. He's just contracting, he just get little time, and he has to spend time, he has to sacrifice so much of his enjoyment. Like, say, for I'm not trying to advertise about brahmacharya ashram, but I'm telling, like, they have their own, they have get so much time here in ashram because they don't have much responsibility. And of course there is no much that type of love and pleasure, but there is some level of freedom. because you don't no need to think of what will happen future, what is there. That tension is not there, so it becomes easy. Otherwise, it's really tough. And Prabhupada writes, there is no question of happiness in this material world, either individually, that means for brahmacharis also, or in terms of family, society, or country. If something is going on in the name of happiness, that is also illusion. There is no happiness. No movies, no serials, nothing. There is no happiness. And Prabhupada does not speak lies. Like what convinced me when I joined Krishna conscious, I understood that this person will not cheat. What I got experience of Prabhupada is he is not going to cheat. Whatever he's telling is truth. So that helped me, even though many things I didn't understand, but I understood whatever Prabhupada says is right. So if Prabhupada is telling if something is going in the name of happiness, this is illusion. So there is no happiness here. In this material world, happiness means successful contraction to the effects of distress. And that is true also, as we go, very rich people, when they come for counseling, we understand, wow, these people, according to outside standard, they're very successful and happy people. But in reality, when they express their personal problems and all to us, then we understand, oh, it was true what Prabhupada said. And then Kapila says to secure money by committing violence here and there, although he employs it in service of his family, he himself eats only a little portion of food that and thus purchased. And he goes to hell for those of- for whom he earned the money in such an irregular way. Many corruptions and all. This is what happens. And very interesting, the most important point of this purpose is the family members for whom an attached person acts in so many criminal ways are never satisfied. In illusion, an attached person serves such a family members, and by serving them, he is destined to enter into hellish condition of life. So it's an illusion. And one good news is no matter how much you do for the family, they will not be satisfied unless they are devotees. Of course, some good uh, people in some mode of goodness, they may express gratitude when their old parents are dying. They may say, okay, we are very happy for whatever you did. Now peacefully go, don't worry, we'll take care of ourselves. It happens for some people who are very pious, but in general, nobody is satisfied. Said, okay, this fellow, and no matter they may not do wrong also, but if they didn't do what they want, they say, and of course, after they die, people feel their separation. They say, oh, my mother was good, my father was good. But when they are alive, they don't take it. Of course, there are some very good cases. There are many cases that where they are satisfied and happy, but it's all material. Does not make any difference. And further, he says, when he suffers, uh, when he suffers reverses in his occupation, he tries again and again to improve himself. But when he is baffled in all attempts and is ruined, he accepts money from others because of excessive greed. So this is all loan taking business. We should not live on loan. Like Chanakya Pandit says, who is a happy person who does not have loans and who does not leave home? Is a very happy person. At least materially to be happy, we should not have loans. And there's nobody who don't have no. Everybody goes with loan only. It is not actually the way to be happy because it causes so much anxiety. Like say person, mm, I am not having any suggestions, but I am telling because I see my brother and all. They have loan. Now your loan is so much. Of course, they can pay some other places, but what they do is regularly they keep on taking loan one after another. They clear this loan, then they take, then they want to purchase another property, they want to purchase something else. Until retirement also. They have their things, but they want to take new things. They take again loan. And now they are so much in anxiety how to clear the loan. I say, why did you take the loan? You can be happy with whatever you have. No, then they want higher standard than what they are living. And then they go for loan. Actually, it is not the way to. live. Means if you want to be peaceful in mind, if people are living like that, that's a different thing. But if it is not favorable to Krishna consciousness, that we can say. I don't want to say that it is not proper way to look. Until it is not favorable to Krishna consciousness. Thus, the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, and is bereft of all beauty, he always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply. Seeing him unable to support them, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before. Even as uh, miserly farmer do not accord the same treatment to the old ox or oxen. So this actually happens to most of the people. Not only in the present age, but in the time from the time immemorial, no one has liked an old man who is unable to earn in the family. Even in modern age, in some communities or state, the old men are given poison. Prabhupada explains this purport. So he says, to give up family attachment before one attains old age and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. One should employ himself in Lord's service so that the Supreme Lord can take charge of him and he will not be neglected by his so-called kingsmen. So after some time, we don't need our family. We should not depend on family members. We should start depending on the Supreme Lord. So he takes care of us, and which is what is needed. And then the foolish family man does not become averse to family life, although he is maintained by those who he once maintained. And deformed by influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death. So, tatrapi ajata nirvedo भ्रियमानः स्वयं भृतः जर्योपात विरूप्यो मरणाभिमुक्तो गृहे. This is what it says. Deformed by influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death. And Prabhupada, right? Family attraction is so strong that even if one is neglected by family members in his old age, he cannot give up family affection. They are treating him in very badly. He is so attached. He is having property on his name. He can just give to some temple and be happy. But he will not give to temple. He will give to the children who abused him, who are neglecting him. He will give to them only. Arey, you have so much property. Anyway, your children are not taking care. If you go to temple, you will get spiritual credits. You will get so much sukriti. He can do, nobody can do it. And it is actually very difficult. We have my and he remains at home like a dog. You can just purchase some nice place in Vrindavan, stay there, and just after that everything goes to temple. He can be very peaceful and happy. In the Vedic way of life, one has to give up family life while he is still strong. That means at the age of 50, max now we can say 60. It is advised that before getting too weak and being baffled in the mental activities and before becoming deceased, one should give a family of engage oneself completely in the service of Lord for remaining days of his life. It is enjoined, therefore, in the Vedic scriptures that as soon as one passes 50 years of age, he must give up family life and live alone in the forest. After preparing himself fully, he should become a sannyasi to distribute the knowledge of spiritual life to each and every home. And this is very important that because now many of the here so many old age homes are increasing. The parents, because the children from especially in Hyderabad and this part of Telugu talking people, many of the children they are sent abroad, and here there is nobody to take care of them. But they are very proud that their children are in US, even though they don't have anybody to take care here. And this is all all illusion only. That means, but what happens is the problem is uh, Anyway, some of them they put their money and they go and stay in the old age home because nobody is there to take care of them. Of course, in one way it is they are detached, but they are not detached only because their minds are not detached. They are not in a situation like that. Anyway, आस्ते व्यमोत्योपनयस्तं गृहपाला इवार्हणम् आमयाव्य अप्रदीप्ताग्निरल्पाहारो अपचेष्टितः. Thus he remains at home just like a pet dog and eat whatever is so neglectfully given to him. Afflicted with many illness, such a uh, dyspepsia and loss of appetite, he eats only very small morsels of food and he becomes an invalid who cannot work anymore. And this is actually the state of this man. By knowing it, he should be prepared from before only. That's why Bhagavatam is giving. So the preparation is done before you get into that situation. Before meeting death, one is sure to become deceased invalid. And when he is neglected by his family members, his life becomes less than a dog's because he is put into so many miserable conditions. And I have seen many of the people, they are wishing that their old parents die. And this sometimes they sell on the face also. Why don't you die? This is, but still that fellow want to continue living. Vedic literature enjoys, therefore, that before the arrival of such miserable condition, one should leave home and die without the knowledge of his family members. This is a very nice instruction from the Vedic literatures. You should die in a secluded place where nobody knows. Vedic enjoys, therefore, that before the arrival of such miserable condition, one should leave home and die without knowledge of his family members. Previously, how is to be like when a person becomes old after 50 years, by the time his children are grown, his son is 25, he's 50, he gives the responsibility of his son, family, and all to the son, and he goes to Kasi, that is considered like Himalayas. And the whole village used to give send off. That means not going to come back again. They know, okay, gone. And he's also detached. He said, okay, I'm done with my things. Now I'm no more coming. So he just leaves home. If a man leaves home and dies without his family, no, like that means he's already considered only. Yeah, this whole village is giving send off, and that is considered to be glorious. And no, and people used to appreciate leave home and dies without his family knowledge, knowing that is considered to be glorious, glorious death. But an attached family man wants his family members to carry him to a great position even after his death. And although he will not be able to see how the procession goes, he still desires that his body be taken gorgeously in procession. Thus, he is happy without even knowing where he has to go when he leaves his body. This is make a good arrangement after I die. What? How you know you're already dead? And another interesting feature in the West is they go and choose their coffins. They say, I want this type of box, I want this type of box where my body is kept and it is buried. And they purchase the place also where they are to be buried and all. But they are not understanding where are you going, you know. In this diseased condition, one's eyes bulge due to the pressure of air from within. Now, and his glands become congested with mucus. He has difficulty breathing, and upon exhaling and inhaling, he produces sound like gurgur, a rattling within the throat. Oh, very graphically described in Bhagavatam. Shayana Parishoschodbhi Paryata Swabandhubhi Vachamanopi na brute kalapashavasamgataha. In this way, he comes under the clutches of death and lies down, surrounded by lamenting friends and relatives. And although he wants to speak with them, he no longer can because he is under the control of time. He wanted to express. One important thing that is to be done is we have to express our gratitude regularly to whomever you are loving and also ask forgiveness. This should be done regular. Then it will be easy because any time death will come and then they start feeling are bad. I could not do. Like there are five confessions of people who are leaving their bodies and they confess to the sisters in the hospital because nobody is there for them. Uh, they're alone and then they're dying, but then they confess to the sisters in the hospital. They say, first thing is they say we could have lived much better in life. We could have utilized it. And then they feel that we are very worried for small petty things. And that is true also. All the anxieties which we are having and all, it is of very petty things which have no value. Even now also we can see what I was worrying 2 3 years back is no more any worry now. Not that it is solved, but does not make sense. I have some other things to think and do in life. So in that way, there is so much change in our way of understanding. So at the time of death, we feel that I could have lived better. I could have spent time in a much better way with my people in terms of relationships. And we do many of this, especially with relationship and all. We could have much more deeper relationships. And we can have much more, uh, we can forgive, express our gratitude, and ask forgiveness. So these three things should be done regularly. We should forgive, ask forgiveness, and express gratitude. For formality's sake, when a man is lying on his deathbed, his relatives come to him, and sometimes they cry very loudly, addressing the dying man, "Oh my father, oh my father," or "Oh my husband." In that pitiable condition, the dying man wants to speak with them and instruct them of his desires. But because he is fully under the control of time factor, death, he cannot express himself and thus causes him inconceivable pain. He is already in a painful condition because of disease and his glands and throats are choked with mucus. He is already in a difficult position, and when he is addressed by his relatives in this way, his grief increases. And this is what happens to many of the old people. That's why better you express before only, before this situation comes. What happens now when we do these three things, our mind becomes very peaceful. And when mind is peaceful, we can focus on higher things. And when we focus on higher things, we get unaffected by the things that are happening around. That is this formula. Formula is very simple. I'll write for you. So, three things. First is ask forgiveness. First, forgive. Ask forgiveness. Express gratitude. So if you do these three things, the mind is peaceful. So if mind is peaceful, then what happens? We'll be able to focus on higher things. Spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge and spiritual practices. So this is actually what happens to us. So when that's why even why the Varnashrama was given is for this sake only, to keep a peaceful mind. Peaceful mind is very much needed. So Varnashrama is for healthy body, peaceful mind, and a good society, peaceful society also, and spiritual growth. All four aspects are there for Varnashram. And according to that, then the mind is peaceful. Then what happens? A person is able to focus on something higher. And by the time he is becoming older and older, then for him, then when he's focusing, then he's unaffected by the surroundings. So surroundings and also his body and all the things which are going to affect him eventually. So these things don't affect him if he is seriously working on keeping his spiritual practices. So this is very much important that we focus on our spiritual practice for that to keep mind cool. That is the reason the system is Varnashram. Of course, now we follow certain principles of Varnashram now also. That is very favorable to Bhakti. We do not do everything of Varnashrama, but some principles of Varnashrama are very favorable for Bhakti. Why? Because they help us to make mind peaceful. No, there is responsibility for husband, responsibility for wife, children. Everybody has to follow certain laws. Only one reason, because like eh, like they say, wife should be chaste, even though husband is very bad person also. Why it is told? It is just told for her spiritual growth. Materially, she will be miserable. This fellow is useless fellow. Materially, she may not get so much, but spiritually she will get so much because mind is focusing. She will, even if we not get spiritually also, at least she will be elevated to heaven because she has followed it. Why she is getting such husband is because of bad karma. Now she is accepting, okay, it is my bad karma. Or husband also, if husband is getting a very dangerous wife, and then he is accepting, he's not giving up her and going to somebody, he's accepting. Then what happens? Both he accepting as my bad karma because he has burnt his bad karma in that way of suffering. Is going to be elevated. So that's the formula. And instead of that, if I don't want it and I start doing some other manipulations, then what happens? That karma will remain. Like that's what happened when I was working in a corporate company. I was so miserable. I thought this is too much. I don't want to work here. Then I thought, then what is option for me? Even then I thought this is my karma. I cannot escape. Even if I leave this body, karma is going to come for my next life. Then I understood that I should do some good activity to counteract. Of course, that is not the way, but that was my formula. Then I thought, let me do some good social service or go and serve in the temple so that I will get good karma and enjoy next life because I cannot escape it. This is my karma. And fortunately, I thought, okay, let me serve temple. And Prabhupada book came into hand, and then I came to ISKCON. But the point is the same. We cannot escape. Any enjoyment we did, there is a punishment. There is a payment for it. Either you paid it, enjoy it, or you enjoy and take the payment. That's the thing. So any situation we are kept, we have to. So here, any activity we are doing, we should work on this peaceful mind. We want to always work on keeping the mind. All the training is for what? Training is for the mind only. Whatever classes we are hearing, it's all for the mind only. All training. It is only for the mind. Here, mind includes manas, buddhi, and ahankar. So all the three things, the subtle body. All the training, any spiritual practice is to make a person free, internally free. So this is another thing. Spiritual practice is to make us free, internally free from all addictions, free from all attachments, free from all conditionings, and free from all dependencies. All the things we have to get free. So that is actually freedom. And that's actually what is spiritual practice is. From attachments, addictions, dependencies, all the things we want to get free from all these things. That is why it's spiritual practice. It's not to increase, it to reduce it. So then all these things, if we are not attached, we internally become free. Otherwise, very miserable life. Where Prabhupada protected us is he's protecting us, he's giving us freedom. People want freedom, people want independence, but they are becoming slaves, they are becoming dependent, they are becoming attached. But Prabhupada is giving a formula where we can become free. That is what need to be understood. If Prabhupada is so merciful, yes, his mercy is making us freedom. If you are not becoming free, you are not taking his mercy. एवं कुटुम्बभरणे व्यापृतात्मा जितेन्द्रियः म्रियते रुदतां स्वानाम् उरुवेदनया सद्भिः. Thus, the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief, seeing his relatives crying. He dies most pathetically, in great pain and without consciousness. And I have seen also my grandfather dying, and it was so miserable. No, I went. What I did, I took Prabhupada mission, a Prabhupada dun, and I kept. And he was like almost in the dying phase. I thought at least let him hear the holy name. And next day I came, and by the time he died, and then I saw they kept some other mission. There are so many missions in the market with different mantras. Some other professional was singing some other mantra. I said, why? Arre, why did you remove this? They said, no, we thought we'll keep some other. I felt so bad for him. He could not hear Prabhupada dhun, no, while he was leaving his body. Yeah, it is. It's not possible for everyone anyway. And some of them, no, they feel it is so painful to the ear. They cannot hear also. One of my friend, he shares, no, he tried to read some scriptures, no, to his old mother, and she said, no, I cannot hear anymore. I am not. She did not hear. She was interested in so many material things. And when she was dying, one page he read, and she said, no, I cannot hear it anymore. So if you don't practice, it's so miserable and without consciousness. And this is actually what happens. I have seen also some people dying like that. And we should know that how much danger it is for them, what type of body is going to get. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the time of death, one who is absorbed in the thoughts, which is cultivating during a person who has no other idea than to properly maintain his family members must have family affairs in his last thoughts. See, such a dangerous thing. We should not go after some age with the family. It is not at all recommended because at the time of death, he is just thinking, must have family affairs in his last thoughts. So, so bad for him. In the that is the material consequence of a common man. A common man does not know the destiny of his life. He's simply busy in his flash of life, maintaining his family. At the last stage, no one is satisfied with how he has improved the family economic conditions. Everyone thinks that he could not provide sufficiently. This happens for most of the cases, even though he does everything, but they are not satisfied. Because of his deep family affection, he forgot his main duty of controlling the senses and improving his spiritual consciousness. You see, people, they are not interested. Very rich people also, they have everything that they don't need any more to earn. Their children are themselves earning. He got property from his father. He earned so much. His children is earning. Now he can take break. He can just focus on spiritual consciousness, but he will not do it. He's still interested in it. Sometimes a dying man entrusts the family affairs to his to either his son or some relative, saying, "I am going. Please look after the family." Like we have a joke. Like one person is dying. I don't know, where is my wife? Where is my wife? He started crying. Wife is saying, "Oh, my dear husband, I am here only with you. I am here only. Where is my elder son?" And he says, "Father, don't worry. I am also here with you. I am also here." And he says, "Where is my second son?" "No, father, don't worry. I am also here." "And where is my third son?" He said, "Oh, father, we are all here only." Then he said, "If everybody is here, who is in the shop?" And he died. So he's worried about the shop only. So it's interesting to some of his relatives say, "I am going. Please look into family." He does not know where he is going, first of all. First, let you think about yourself. But even at the time of death, he is anxious about how his family will be maintained. Actually, this is also very important that I was telling at the time of death, three things. First, you forgive, you seek forgiveness, express your gratitude, and also give the assurance of a person who is dying that he has done all his duties very nicely, and we'll be very happy. We'll take care of ourselves nicely, and you peacefully go. And then he will focus on something higher, at least at the last moment of his death. He should be. That's why this hospice and all. No, they try these things. They chant and make them. But he should not have. He does not know where he is going. But even at the time of death, he is anxious about how his few years, so that the family maintenance plan which he begins can be complete. These are the material diseases of conditioned soul. He completely forgets his real engagement to become Krishna conscious, and he is always serious about planning to maintain his family, although he changes families one after another. Like Prabhupada family was also not very, his things were also not very good, but Prabhupada didn't bother. He said it is he has a bigger family to take care. And because his elder son, he fell in love with one woman and she ditched him. After that, he became a mad person. He used to go around in Calcutta, eat something from the dustbins and all. And Prabhupada understood that is his karma and he's suffering from it. So Prabhupada didn't do anything for it. He is aloof from it. He knows I had done my responsibility for some age. Now I am meant for serving Krishna. And why it happened? It is Krishna is showing, even for great personalities like Prabhupada and even Bhaktivinoda Thakur's children, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's brother, he became against him and he started preaching against him. Like, so it happens. And even Advaita Acharya's son, their children, they became Mayavadis, some of them. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's children, they became against. So, for pure devotees also, Krishna gives such situations. Why he is giving? Not that they didn't do proper Garbhadan Samskara, not like that. To give us some hope. Okay, even they are going through such situations, but still they practice Krishna consciousness. That means even if I go from bad situation, I can also practice Krishna consciousness. That is a main lesson. When pure devotees go through such situations like Madhavendra Puri, he was he was in last life. No, Ishwar Puri was taking care of everything because he could not do himself personally. He was bedridden. I was oh, such a great Vaishnava. No, they are. That is a pastime only for them because that will give hope for us. They say if Bhaktivinoda Thakur comes in a Pushpak Viman and everything is perfectly arranged from him, goes back in Pushpak Viman, then we'll not have any hope. We say, okay, they are pure devotees, only they can do. And Prabhupada gets a business class flight ticket to US and he goes and everybody is waiting for him and he preaches and comes back. That is not going to touch so much, but he is struggling very hard, going in Jaladuta, gets a heart attack. After going, he struggles, then we will get hope. Oh, yes, yes, it's I can also practice. This is the main understanding. Like this will help us. What helps? That you can be aloof even when you go through some hard situations with the family, with the health, with the surroundings. You go through some hard situations. still we can be aloof. We cannot say that no, oh, my situations are not good, I cannot practice Krishna consciousness. Then what about Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Whole life is to be so many days and days, months and months is to be sick. When he wanted to come to Mayapur, 40 days he was sick continuously. He just drank milk. And after, I think, 40 days, then he ate food. He said, this is the best taste of food I am getting, prasadam. After, then he prayed to the Lord, okay, Lord, so many problems are coming. Maybe something good will happen. And then he said, okay, let me not become sick now. After going to Mayapur, after coming back, I'll become sick. And the same thing happened. He goes, comes back, again becomes sick. Now, why is becoming sick? It is not any sin. There is no karma only for him. He is Kamala Manjari. Why? To give us some hope that in spite of that bad condition, you can practice Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada preached. In spite of such unfavorable condition, he preached. And what about family? Yes, family is not at all good. But if he's not cooperating, children are not devotees, somebody is not in a very good situation, also his elder son, still Prabhupada gave up and took sannyas and practice and preached Krishna consciousness. Now, how can we justify our things? We cannot justify because they went through much more difficult situations and a practice. So that means we can also practice. That's the point. So here we can be aloof from all these things and focus on Krishna consciousness. That's the point. We have to go with spiritual practices. And Yamaduta Tada Praptu Bhumo Sarabha Kshekshuno Sadrishtya Trashta Hridaya Sakna Murtam Vimuchati. At death, he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death come before him. Their eyes full of wrath, and in great fear he passes stool and urine. People who are destined to stay in hell for long time, they get a they thought anyway you are going to stay in hell. Why don't you become Yamadutas? So they will get posts as Yamadutas. They'll stay in hell only. They have done so much wrong. Then they will given a job only in hell. Any we are doing here, like in the prison also, some prisoners they are given some responsibilities. You do this, and we are going to stay for whole life here only. Why don't you settle nicely? So Yamadutas, their duration is very long, people. Then they get a nice post in hellish. They become Yamadutas. And Prabhupada writing there are two kinds of transmigration of living entity after passing away from the present body. One kind of transmigration is go to the control of sinful activities, who is known as Emerald. Another is go to the heavenly planets up to Vaikuntha. Like if a person leaves his body by passing urine and stool, that means he is considered that he went to the lower regions. Others also will go to Emerald, but when they go to Emerald don't look very fearsome. Others, people who are not devotees, they also go for judgment there. But for them, Emerald is not fearsome. But one who did very sinful activities, and there are three different gates they enter into hell. If you enter into southern gate, then Emerald is very fearsome and he punishes. But if you go other gates, he is okay, good person. He sends you to heaven, and then you are okay there. But they have to, of course, not everybody has to go, but many of them will go. And here, a person who has engaged in sinful activities to maintain family are treated by the messengers of Yamaraj called Yamadutas. At the time of death, the Yamadutas become the custodians of those persons who have strongly gratified their senses. They take charge of the dying man and take him to the planet where Yamaraj resides. The condition there are described in the following verses. Everybody goes. They will be taken to the Yamaloka, and Yamaraj looks very nice there for people who are pious. Otherwise, he is very fearsome, and it is very dangerous situation. There is a question: what happens to the person who dies on Ekadasi? If he's a devotee, he will get another devotee body. If he's not, he will go to. If he's sinful, he will go to hell. So only Vaikuntha Ekadasi doors are open in Vaikuntha, like Saddam Hussein. He was he got death sentence. He was captured by America and they gave him death sentence. And he was killed on Vaikuntha Ekadasi day, fortunate for him. And but he may they may but we cannot say that he will go to Vaikuntha. Many people die on Vaikuntha Ekadasi. But actually what is important is consciousness is important. And where he is dying is also important. If he is dying uh, we can give him some benefit of doubt, but not sure that he will be able to get some benefit if he's dying on Ekadasi. And so here, Yamadutas, they take him, punish him nicely while going, or if he's doing that's why one important thing we should do is donate a cow, so that when Yamadutas are taking, that's why if a person dies in the house, one important thing is give a cow. Then he will not have to pour that Vaitarani river is a very dangerous river. It is made of pus, mucus, urine, stool, and all these things. So they will drag him through the river. So it's but if you get a cow, if you give charity of cow, then by holding the tail of the cow, he crosses and the river parts. In that way, he crosses without getting affected by the river. While he is going, there is Ruruva dogs and all that will come the descriptions. So then that's and there is very hot. So you have to give umbrella as a donation to the Brahmanas, chappal, so that he is walking through the hot sun. So what happens is if here they give charity to devotees, then Yamaduta say, okay, your people have given an umbrella, so you can take umbrella. Your people has given you chappal, so take chappal. Then he will get a cow which takes him cross that river. These are the benefits he get. So the transmigration, we'll see how the description. Yatana deha avritya pashair gale balat nayato dhirgham advanam dhanyam rajabhatha yatha. As a criminal is arrested for punishment by the constables of the state, a person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamadutas, who bind him by the neck with strong rope and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment. He is given yatana deha. This body, actually, Yamadutas cannot touch the soul. No, Yamadutas don't have access. They cannot do anything with the soul. They only take the subtle body. But the soul is attached to the subtle body. That's why it goes. As such, no, Nainam Chinnandishta Nainam Pavaka. They cannot bind the soul. The soul is much more subtler than Yamadutas. They cannot do anything with the soul. But the souls, because it is attachment to the subtle body, it goes with the subtle body. Yamadutas are very simple. They just have to take the subtle body out and go. And soul is going behind. And then they give a yatana deha, the body which will not die, even though it goes to extreme pain, extreme circumstance. You put in the fire, normally this body cannot survive. They get a body which survives. And because the soul identifies with the body, the soul feels the pain. As such, there is nothing happening to the soul. It should be very clearly understood. Soul is never affected. Attachment of the soul is the cause of that pain. That actually happens to all of them. A criminal is arrested, punished. So here, same thing. Every living entity is covered by a subtle and gross body. The subtle body is a covering of mind, ego, intelligence, and consciousness. It is said in the scriptures that the constable of Yamaraj cover the subtle body of the culprit and take him to the abode of Yamaraj to be punished in a way that he is able to tolerate. He does not die for his punishment because if he dies, then who would suffer the punishment? It is not the business of the constables of Emeraj to put one to death. In fact, it is not possible to kill any living entity because factually is eternal. He sim he simply has to suffer the consequences of his activities of sense gratification. We the subtle body is punished, and the identification with the subtle body, the soul can never die. And subtle body also does not, subtle body does not, they don't kill the subtle body. They only give a body in such a way you start identifying something. Like, say, if something happens to my car, I am getting affected because I am attached to my car. Something happens to my mind, house, I am affected. Something happens to my. Similarly, the soul has this tendency because it need to have some shelter. It takes shelter in this subtle body and it suffers. And Yamadutas know how to do it. The process of punishment is explained in Chaitan Charitamrita. Formerly, the king's man would take a criminal in a boat in the middle of the road, in the middle of a river. They would dunk him by gasping a bunch of his hair and thrush him completely underwater. And when he was almost suffocated, the king's constable would take him out of the water and allow him to breathe for some time. And then they would again dunk him in the water to suffocate. This sort of punishment is inflicted upon the forgetful soul by Yamaraj, as will be described in the following verse. Death means what? Death means the gross body should go away. That is death. Settle body goes away. That is liberation. Gross body goes, it is death. Settle body goes is liberation. So he will have settled body. He is not liberated. And then they'll give another type of body which goes through all the pain. तयो निबन्न हृदयस्त्रजनैर् जातवे पतौ पतिस्वाभिर्भक्ष्यमान आर्तो घम स्व अनुस्मरन्. While carried by the constables of Emerald, he is overwhelmed and troubled in their hands. While passing on the road, he is bitten by dogs, Ruruva dogs, and he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed. What happens when we go through extreme pain? We remember the sinful activities we did. If a person is little have sense, now people don't even do that. They become agnostics. They become more angry and more averse by when they go through pain. It appears on this verse that while passing from the planet to the planet of Emerald, the culprit arrested by Emerald's constable meet many dogs which bark and bite just to remind him of his criminal activities of sense gratification. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that one becomes almost blind and is bereft of all senses when he is uh, infuriated by the desire for sense gratification. He forgets everything. Kama sthaisthir hitajnana. One is bereft of all intelligence when he is too attached by sense gratification and forget that he has to suffer the consequences also. Here, the chance for recounting his activities of sense gratification given by the dogs engaged by Yamaraj. While we live in this gross body, such activities of sense gratifications are encouraged even by modern government regulations. In every state all over the world, such activities are encouraged by government in the form of birth control. Women are uh, supplied pills and they are allowed to go to clinical laboratories to get assistance for abortion. This is going on as a result of sense gratification. Actually, sex life is meant for begetting a good child. But because people have no control over the senses and there is no institution to train them to control the senses, the poor fellow falls victim to the criminal offense of sense gratifications and they are punished after death as described in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. But this is actually very abortion and all. We will discuss some of that. How much sinful it is. You are killing a living entity. Maybe in the next classes, when the child is in the womb, we will discuss. But everything is so simple to understand. You enjoy, you pay it. Or you pay and enjoy. Same thing. If you pay and enjoy means that is you are doing some austerities and then doing sense gratification, and you are doing some yajna and then doing sense gratification, and dharma, artha, and then kama. But nowadays people don't do any of these things. They enjoy, then they pay, and the payment is punishment like that. Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you all very much. We'll end here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे